Welcome to the TTPOA podcast, a podcast for SWAT officers, military, and all first responders. We'll be talking training, tactics, and leadership with the best subject matter experts around.
All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of the TTPOA podcast. Welcome to the Backyard Honky Tonk. Matt Smith, how are you doing today, man?
Well, sir, how about yourself?
Good. I got to clarify which Matt I'm talking about right now. So it's been a while since we've done some podcast, and from y'all's point of view, but from ours, it's not. Feels like the conference was just a few weeks ago, and we did a lot back then. So now we're back in the mothership of the Backyard Honky Tonk. So a nice, beautiful Sunday evening. So enjoying your weekend?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this handsome man we have across from us on my couch is no other than the notorious Matt Pranka, man. How you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome back to Texas.
Good to be here.
Came back, and, man, you got your Texas road show on the road right now?
Yep. I'll be here already been here for a week and another couple weeks of training and classes.
Well, glad to
nice
have
to
you,
stack
man.
them all up.
Already see you got some red-ass arms?
Yeah, I keep coming in June. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
The very first time you came was in August, man.
That's hot. Yeah,
you were miserable.
One of these times I'm going to figure out when it's cooler. In
March
Texas.
and April. Everything else is wet and cold or hot. That's pretty much it for us. Yeah.
So
March and April.
That's funny. Yeah, that first class we had, we shot a rifle class, and, man, it was so miserable hot.
Yeah.
We'd come back here, jump in the pool. He was burn ash red. He's like, man, I feel like I'm training on the sun. It's like, yeah, you kind of are in August.
That humidity is just brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, you had a good week last week, though. You were in indoor 70-something degree range.
It was perfect over at Fort Worth with Dallas. So we got to train inside for night vision. Got here the first day. It was real rainy and looked the forecast like it was going to be rainy for 4 days. Like, oh, man. And Fort Worth, Chancey hooked it up.
Yep.
Let us into the range at night. Good thing it was a night. Night class. They were booked, but we were able to sneak in there and get it all done. It was good.
Yeah, he's good, man. And the fact that he's just wanting guys to train, wanting guys to get better, and he'll do anything he can. And
he's awesome.
That's the way it should be. So look at y'all, Dallas helping, or Fort Worth helping Dallas guys.
Yeah.
Man, you know.
Yeah. Well, and we had already reached out to them and had a couple of them in the class with some Irving guys, to come in, and we didn't know we were going to end up needing that, but it worked out that, had some Fort Worth guys in there. But we know we've had you guys out there. Y'all have had us just paying it forward because not everybody has the ability to bring in somebody like him, know. So we did that, and obviously you're always never going to have everybody in town. We had guys already going on vacations and stuff, so we had some spots. Yeah. So we already had him coming in, so we threw those guys in there, and it was great. And I knew most of the guys anyway, so it was really cool.
No, that's good.
We had the 2 Fort Worth and 2 Irving guys with my rotation, and it was great. We had a good time with them.
Well, good, man. Well, let's talk about that class because you're going to be tomorrow and Tuesday. You're going to be working with our team on night vision and stuff. So let's kind of get into that, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. So when I talked to you about coming and doing a night vision class, you said, hey, you're already working with Dallas and stuff like that. So tell me kind of what your philosophy is as far as teaching LE with the night vision and that capability and what that looks like, because I think we talked about this, a little different than kind of military sometimes.
It is, and I think for me, I try to focus the training on the application, the shooting piece of it. Don't come in and try to. I'm not the guy to go to. Hey, how you want to build a set of nods or or understand exactly how it works. I want to focus on the application of skill with these things and how it enhances us on the shooting side, and then also from a training standpoint, training with them. It's training at night during the day. I believe the shooting piece of it is the same. It's just how we pay attention to the mistakes that we make and the cues that we have to pay attention to and things we have to do differently. Yeah, they're very similar, but some things are unique. Whether it's starting on the vis lasers, white light, IR, and then going back and forth
for all that. Yeah. So we were also talking about kind of PID, what that looks like in our world. You want to kind of how do you approach that with law enforcement?
So, with in the indoor range, we do the best way I think is for guys to see it. We'll do an actual demo where, hey, let's put a guy. We started off at the 50 meter range. We're kind of diagonal, so a little bit more than 50 meters, and Chris Palmer was out helping me with the course, and he was walking around and kept changing objects in his hand, and his back to us. It's all done super safe, but we are illuminating him and showing, hey, look, like, you can't tell what someone's holding at that distance. Yeah. Not under white light, not under the IR laser with the flood. So getting guys to understand, like, it's a huge, like, kind of force multiplier, and it's a huge advantage for officers to have this capability. But it's also presenting another series of challenges where if you don't have the guys shooting at you, you have to positively identify, and then it starts that whole discussion. Am I actually in danger? Yeah. Because it's 50 yards. He doesn't know I'm here. Yep. Right. Is it a credible threat? And then all of those things. And that's why, for me, anytime I do classes like this, where inevitably you're going to start talking about, like, the tactics piece and the legal part, I always have, like, Chris Palmer comes out, teaches with me, 26-year Phoenix cop, and he is able to speak to all of those things. Yeah. For me, I can't. I've never been a cop. Will never be a cop, right? My area of expertise, coming from my time in the military, and some things translate, but focusing on training, inevitably those discussions start about application, and Chris is there to answer the mail on all that stuff.
No, that's good that you recognize that, because some guys don't, and they'll give you their military spin on it, and you're like, dude, I've been to classes, I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, you can't do that here. Like, that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. So I'm glad you recognize that, because that is and even within states, man, I mean, there's some states you're like, I'm shocked with what guys can't do in some states that is just what we do all the time here. So even within that and the law enforcement, it's still confusing and stuff. So what'd you get out of it, Matt? You were in the class, man, for 2 days.
I got dirty guns out of it.
Got dirty guns.
That was great. And as to his point, we had the first 2 days was the other crew, the other side of the house from us, and the last 2 days was us. And so we came in and started all over again on Thursday. And some of the stuff that he was talking about, like, you knew it was understood, but you're getting that's why you bring somebody like him in. You're getting a perspective, like, in his in his history, his background, and his knowledge. This is how this pertains. This is how this works. Here's my thoughts on this. And it's not like the laser works differently for him versus somebody else. Yeah. But he's explaining to you why this does this or why that doesn't do that, and being able to do that. And again, he had Chris there answering some questions. But here's the thing: like, if you are deploying with those and you're waiting on Chris to come in and tell you these things, you're already behind the curve anyway. He was just highlighting things, just to food for thought, things about this. And so, and as you know, we've had people bring this up about with the advanced HR trying to implement night vision, and the guy shows up and they're literally in the bag from L3, still in the plastic, and he's never taken them out of the bag. And he's like, "How do I put these on?" I was like, "Man, this is going to be a long, this is going to be a long thing." So if you're going to this class with him, not knowing how to turn them on or not understanding some of that, it's going to be a little bit harder for you. You're going to be kind of behind. So this was but it was tailor-made for us, the guys that had reached out to him asking to do this. He set it up for us. It was great. We had, 2 days. We had some viz stuff, white light, just explaining the offsets. And depending if you have a maul, you have a D-ball or a PEC, or in his case, an INGAL, each one of those devices is a little bit different where the illuminator is and all this. So understanding all the offsets, and how that corresponds to, what you're seeing and all that. So it was great. Lots of different, shooting evolutions with white lights and vis lasers into the IR. But everything that we did, I think, Matt, we did with vis laser, we turned right around and did it with IR, right? So it was, it was just repeating it. And you're, they've done it under white light where they're safe. Now I'm watching them do this, and you would see where I was shooting lower every time. Yeah. I kept shooting low. So
I think there's a lot that guys can pick up on the training side, like in the indoor range, right, or at dusk training with the vis laser, because you still have, normal, your natural field of view, right? Your ability to focus, at depth, at different targets is much, much easier. And then you just add another, like, close off the field of view, focal plane is different. And that just adds a modifier, but it's still the same things we're paying attention to over and over.
The shooting is the shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's so dark in there. I mean, that thing is dark, and so you don't have your light or your illuminator on. I mean, you can't see 5 feet in front of you. unless there's somebody has like a helmet light or something. So what it does is if you're watching, your dot is very clear because there is no peripheral. Yep. I mean, even just moving between targets, that when he put them up, like we knew, had a generalized idea where they were. Yeah. Let's say 15, 25 yards. And yet you still would find yourself, because it is so dark in there, you're using that illuminator, and you just watch guys, their head would just move their illuminator because you're just happy, so it highlights what either you're doing it right or wrong. You'll see it real quick. And he would just stand by us and go, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, whatever, it's easier to see for him. So.
Well, good. Well, you'll have a nice mosquitoes and snakes and all kinds of stuff we're going to be training the next 2 days. So
perfect.
Yeah. So we won't spoil you with air conditioning and like good toilets. We'll be a porta-john and stuff. So
nice.
We'll spare no expense.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been busy, man. You've been doing all kinds of stuff. Man, you're always training, man. That's what I like about you. You're not just one that just, hey, I want you to do it this way because this is the way I say it. You're always exploring, and you're always pushing the limits to see where you are, and I appreciate that. So what does that look like for you, because you're so busy? How do you maintain that training schedule and just being able to do things?
Yeah, one thing that I've learned by being that busy is how I rely on dry fire. The efficiency of training, like when I have time to train, where I'm not wasting time doing it. And little things, I'll go, if I go shoot pistol, like I'm fortunate enough now, like I can have everything loaded and go out and have, 500 rounds of pistol to where I'm not wasting time doing that, especially when I'm, balancing, when I'm at home, I want to give the family as much as I can, but still there's this underlying, I don't know, drive for me where I'm like, I need to keep getting better. I'm watching all these guys that I associate with get better and better and better. And, that train keeps going. And I think you've got to focus, especially as an instructor or somebody that's going to convey ideas, you have to, continue to develop yourself. Yeah. Speaking with a guy today, I was like, so much of my training now is me trying to disprove things that I know to be true to myself to see if they need to be, reevaluated and evolved. In terms of how I approach, like, predictive shooting as a training tool and reactive shooting, and it's all done where, am I still doing the right thing performance-wise? Can I get more performance out of myself in terms of shooting? And then how can I make the explanations of this stuff simpler?
Is that an internal checks and balances, or is it a balance of internal and then the external people asking you? And
I think part of it, it starts internally, and then I have a great group of guys that I rely on for training that I'll freely share information with as like a check, like, hey, is this right? Does this make sense? This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing in my training. This is what I'm thinking, everything from, Ben's nonstop 24 hours a day resource of just hitting them up and sharing information and ideas. And then, Mike and kind of the group of guys that I like will discuss shooting. And it's all guys that I know they're putting in more work than I am. Right. And then that's an external motivator where, dude, I got it. You're getting better. I got to do more,
Yeah, sure.
And it's like this. It's like, you ever gone on like a distance run with somebody, like, hey, let's just go for a little run. And if you get within their eyesight, and then pretty soon you're in a race, right? Yeah. And that's where I think that external motivator
competitive.
It is a competitive nature. I mean, everybody like in this little group are all competitive shooters. They're all competitive people and competitive personalities that want to, test themselves, against other people. And so it is like a external motivation and a driving force for this.
Well, the most competitive games draw the most competitive people. Yeah. And I think that's very true in that regard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think, the business you're in, the business I was in, it's, that is competition shooting at its best, you know?
Oh yeah.
And you want to win, because winning means that you're doing everything right. You get to go home every night. You get to continue to go on target and be the one that they call for the hardest, most challenging tasks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think too, people that don't know you, had conversation with you or been to a class with you, and just know you from Instagram, they have a different perception of actually who you truly are. I think you're misunderstood a lot. Like, it's not just shooting that you train. There's other things that you train besides just that. Everybody just sees that because that's what you're putting out, because that's what your company is mainly about. So they don't even understand some of the other stuff that you're even doing as well.
Yeah, I think for me it's that the outward perception is what, from a training standpoint, with things that I valued, throughout my career, that I still value, that made me better, that make me here able to talk. And those are the things that I want to promote. I want to promote guys, internally motivated guys, take your own development serious and start train these hard skills, right? This is the easiest thing to talk about. I'm not I don't get off on like discussing like a lot of the other things that I'm training at, for my own development, personally, professionally. Like, those are all things that I'm doing, and I don't think a lot of that stuff needs, or I would say I don't feel like I would have the right skill level to sit there and start talking about that stuff like I'm an expert at. And that's one of the problems with the way people are now absorbing content, and the demand signal is now feeding into like content creators that are just talking and making stuff just to make it.
You posted, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I probably butchered it, but it was someone else's, I think, dry fire video, and you shared on your story, and it was basically the same thing about content. People create content, and then this is actually training. And I like that, because that guy posted it to show his training and his progression in the training, not for just, hey, I want content just so I can have more followers and all that kind of stuff. And there's a big difference in that.
Yeah, I see tons of guys like that are, and I think that is, I forget his name. I'd like to say it, but I've watched him.
Yeah.
Right. It's on Asman. I'll find it. But I've watched him from 4 years ago, first answering messages. And I always tell everyone, like, people that reach out to me, my enthusiasm for your development is going to match your commitment. Yeah. If I see you working, like, that motivates. I'll give you whatever information. If I don't know it, I'll find the answer. I'll hook you up with the guy that does know. Yeah. And I see that as like the most, beneficial thing for guys that want to learn. It's not, you need to sign up with this class, or here, get into my, paid subscription thing, and that's where the answers are going to be. And I just put teasers out here. Like, I want guys to get better. I want them to train. Yeah. And there's so much information out there. Part of the barrier to having guys develop their hard skills and overdevelop is, one, you got to sift through what's right, what meets you, what's right for you, what's right for your application, or what you need it to do, what's real and what's not real. Right? That's becoming harder and harder now to see, like, what is content and what's actual training. Yeah. And then other than that, you really don't need to sift through that barrier too hard, or defeat that barrier too hard, as long as you're willing to work. Yeah. And that's the biggest way. Just start doing something. Yeah.
No, and you told me that, I mean, early on in this meeting, and man, you've held true to that with me. There's never been any time that I've asked a question. We've had conversations at 3 a.m. because you're somewhere and I'm up at whatever. Man, you've always been accessible. So I do appreciate that. Like a couple of years ago, you set up the Tier 1 cops, and it's all just cops and you, and man, there's fucking discussions on all kinds of shit on that deal, man. But there's a lot of learning that goes on. There's a lot of information sharing. I mean, those guys shot that match this weekend, and there were several guys on that group, and everybody was like, hey man, how do we do better? How do we do this? And that's that community in that community that you're responsible for starting that in the law enforcement.
It's that culture and a culture. Yeah. And we talked about this at the end of the course. It's like, it's the worst advice that I give as someone who runs a training company. Yeah. Is getting intact teams to recognize, like, you possess all of the experience, all of the knowledge, and everything to train yourselves.
Yeah.
Right. In absence of anyone from the outside. Right. No one knows your business and what you need more. And then figuring out, where, like, that's why I like goals rather than standards. Right. Set a goal, meet it, push on, keep going, because in terms of the skills, we use that analogy, like there's never a boxer that's like, I'm too fast and I punch too hard.
Yeah.
Right. You're not gonna.
Yeah, you're not gonna find that guy.
Yeah, it's never going to be a negative thing.
Yeah.
Speed and accuracy and power. Right. That's never going to be a negative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in terms of hard, like that's why I emphasize like focus on the hard skills. You will never hit an endpoint.
Yeah.
You'll just continue to overdevelop them.
And I think you being in your position where you see just this wide variety of people, whether it be content creators or dudes that truly just want to get better, and everything in between, right? There's these, not going to, they build these little empires where they do not want anything said differently, or if you say something that they agree with, then they jump onto it like, oh, well, he agrees with me or whatever. And I think you probably, I don't know, is that a challenge to sort that out? Because or do you I know right away what this guy's after, or I know he's trying to draw me off sides, or, how much is that challenge to that? Because I'm sure you probably get a lot of either videos or requests or, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And it's probably a juggling act. You're trying to help them, but at the same time, we talked about it a little bit earlier before we got on, is like you're trying to be just direct with them because we don't have time to do this, and then they push back.
Yeah. They'll 100% push back, and it is that, right? That's a good way to say it, right? Like they're trying to draw you off sides, and hey, but you asked me my opinion. That's my opinion. Like first and foremost, let's not forget who contacted who.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I've had that conversation before.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people like that. Like, let's not ever forget who's paying attention to who's doing what. Right. I'm looking at a very small group of guys in terms of curriculum development and training development and evolution, right? I'm not paying attention to the vast majority of anybody as like something that I want to emulate or do. So that's one thing, that's easy to sift through, because over the last 5 years, we hear more and more people now using the same words that myself, that Ben, that Juan have used for years. Yeah. Right. And it's good. It's like, I believe that that's right, but also don't get tied to it. It may change. Yeah. Something may be different, as we figure another thing out, right? The explanations keep getting shorter. You think I know you've got to train with Juanzik before. Yep. I mean, the way that his brain works about training and shooting, it's just like, for me, it's like I got to do it in like short doses. It's like, I listen to what you say, I'm following what you're doing, and now it's like I need to go sit somewhere and unpack this and make sure that I understand it, because he understands it just at a completely different level, the same way that Ben does, the same way that Joel does, and they all explain things a little bit differently.
That is the nice things, like when I had Sean out a couple months ago, we did the podcast with him, and we kind of talked about some of that same stuff, and just sidebars and conversations we'd have. I'm like, man, you know what you're saying, I've heard it, but the way your twist on it, I really like that. It really resonated with me. Or you added more to it that I'm like, oh, I really get that now. Or it reaffirms what I already knew, which is also a good thing too. So I do appreciate instructors, and it is like, here's who I grew up, watching and learning from, and I've just taken it and made it my own, but it's still relatable, and it's still practical, and it still goes back to the work that he was putting in, or any of these instructors are putting in. Yeah. Because if you don't, man, you see it.
And Sean's a perfect example, right, of a law enforcement guy. Yeah. High level competition, and he explains it well from everything I've heard watching him talk online. I've never trained with him in person, but the other thing, he can stand there and deliver it. Yeah. Right. Like, without a doubt, like, this is like at a very high level, demonstrated. And I think, I don't think he's doing that like he can only do that with the things that he wants to teach.
No.
Those high level guys, like you put them on anything.
Yeah.
And that you're going to see performance.
And I think that's where, this is not so if anybody's listening online, like, oh, Brandon's just, kissing his ass. It's not, because I truly know you, and we've had a lot of conversations. And I think that's where a lot of people see the persona on Instagram. Oh, you're calling out. No, there's a lot of dudes you don't call out because they're doing the right way. It might not be exactly the way you might present it, but they're not being just all about their business and selling a bunch of bullshit and just being just dicks about some stuff. And for me, I appreciate that. Like we said, hey, directness sometimes doesn't fly well with a lot of people, especially if you call them on their bullshit. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I think a lot of that gets, I've never thought when I started my company that I would have other grown alpha type men call me toxic.
Yeah.
I was like, that just wasn't even a word that was in my, but it becomes like a buzzword. That's toxic leadership.
Yeah.
No, that's just what leadership looks like when you look up at from the bottom sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, would it be safe to say, and I think everybody has their own perspectives of it. If we sat down, we talked about, let's just say CQB, which is the most biggest, Pandora's box you can open, right?
It's like talking about religion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And with all three of us, like if we talked about it for 2 straight hours, there's going to be some things we disagree on or have a different perspective on. But it's not like I'm going to sit there and go, well, I'm going to discount anything you say now because I don't agree with it. And that's the problem that I see. And it's not just, I think, and I did CQB. Like I know people that go, Matt, I don't even want to talk about CQB because the fight that it is ensuing after that, and it is brutal. And then they come and they ask, or they come to a class, and Brandon and I've talked about this at great lengths. Like to your point, remember you signed up for this class, like you chose us or selected you, whatever, and we're giving. And I lead off like, look, I'm not here to talk about what you do back home. Like, that's not my mission. I don't know and I don't care. Not to say what you're doing is wrong. We're here to show you our perspective. Not the way, it's a way. It's the way that we do it. Here's what we're showing you. I think any good student should be able to walk in there for 2 or 3 days and do exactly what you asked us to do. I mean, like, I never thought for a second with the 2 days with you, well, I don't agree with that, so I'm going to do my own thing. No, I think any good student, you should do that and hear what they have to say. And then I can compare notes and go, hey, here's the reason why I don't agree with her. I don't know. But if I just discount it and don't do it, does that make sense? And so I think I'm sure because of your position, you're probably seeing even more of that, and they're pushing back. And you're like, well, then why did you ask?
I think people, the CQB debate.
It's brutal.
I get more hate mail about gatekeeping. I'm not a proponent of the Second Amendment because I'm not out there training, everyone, that wants to do an open enrollment CQB course. Yeah. And it's like, my belief on the training anything, right? And CQB is the prime thing. If it's a requirement for me to run 100 meters in 11 seconds, I am never going to train to do it in 15.
Right.
Or 20.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to be going fast and hard all the time. And that's what people don't understand. Like, I am a huge proponent of training dynamic points of domination CQB. From my experience, that is the hardest thing to execute. It's the hardest thing to be very precise at, right? You have to have the best shooting skill to do it. You have to have the best communication stuff. You have to have the best conceptualization understanding of what that tactic of CQB is to execute that. And then if there's a time where you need to be slow, right, and you need to be methodical and you need to be quiet, you have that skill set. Yeah. But everyone's, well, no, then we just run into our death. I mean, that just means like then you don't even have the right brain. Like, you're not thinking when you go onto a you just shut it off and like, I'm just going to go on full autopilot mode and do what I've always done in the shoot house. Yeah. No, it's like we're talking about the training piece of it. Not once have I ever like talked about an application. Like, you tell guys like, hey, what you're doing in the doorway is not safe for these reasons. Mm-hmm. right? And this is the history of that TTP. This is where it comes from in the military, but the wall stop bullets, and we did it at night.
Yeah.
Like, you can take that information, believe it or not, but I know one thing, that everyone that I know who does CQB as a profession, the number one thing that they're thinking about is dominating the target.
Yeah.
Everyone that does CQB as an enthusiast, their number one thing they're thinking about is their own safety.
Yeah.
And it's not a safe thing, right?
No,
so
it's
right
not.
off the bat, like, we're not having the same conversation.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be safe, and I'm telling you that this business is not safe.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. You can execute it perfectly. You can do everything right. Charges are like, everything is perfect and still lose.
Yeah.
Because it's the nature of that business.
It sure is.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say are you there to win, or are you there not to lose? And I think it's like prevent defense in football.
Yep.
You know, they get in that shell defense. They just march right down the field, and as opposed to what maybe got them there, putting pressure, being aggressive, being proactive. You may have sacked the quarterback and solved this, but no, you stood back, let him just dictate to you, went right down the field, and they scored, and you just lost the damn game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very much the parallel, and we see it all the time. People come in talking, and believe me, we make our mistakes. We are not perfect by any means. My God, we make mistakes, and we will continue to make them. However, we try to make them at full speed, and we're trying to be speed is your security. And we run, again, we talked about this. I have very, very fortunate in my career to run a lot of warrants, a lot of operations, and a great 90% of them have been in a dynamic fashion. And I'm here to tell you, like, I can't imagine doing it any other way. And people go, "Oh, that's Matt because you've only been trained that way." No, I've been trained in a lot of different disciplines, but I'm here to tell you, after all these years, I'm still a big believer in this. And here's the reasons and the data behind it. But then they'll argue with you about it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I that's your opinion. You're absolutely entitled to it, but it's not going to change my perspective. And then they, like you said, they lash out. Well, you're just, you're gatekeeping. That's a good term to use, or you're trying to prohibit them. Like, where is the benefit of me keeping you from doing that?
Yeah.
Like,
There is
I'm not
no
going.
benefit.
There's nothing for me to do that, but yet you see it, and it's a conundrum that you just can't get out of almost with some of those.
The
guys.
other one that drives me nuts is someone will put out a video in the public sphere, right? Or they're making a training video or something, and then you comment on it, and that comment is direct and not positive and not supporting.
Yeah.
It's not like, "Oh, you fucking piece of shit," but it's not supporting their idea or their concept. And then somehow that's a negative. They're like, "Well, you don't understand the context." Well, I also didn't make the video, man. You did. And I read the write-up and I watched it, and then this is what I see.
Yeah.
So if there's more context, that's up to the creator of that video to put that out. But I'm going off of what I heard you say, the message, what I saw, and then this is my view. And they're like, and it always defaults to where, like, we're just not going to acknowledge that. You take, like, well, we're morally above it, or whatever.
I'm blocking you, Matt. You're blocked.
Whatever. That's the best one. Just block me, please. It's better.
Well, I think too, like, going back to the whole CQB deal, I think there's teams or there's guys that have the philosophy of this is a defensive mindset, or there's other guys, and I think we're all on this side. It's an offensive. We're being aggressive, pushing the offense. We are going after you. We are trying to clear as much space as we can, and we're trying to take this house or whatever structure down as fast and efficiently as we can, and that's the offensive mindset. And where other teams are like, let's play defense, let's do this. I'm like, man, you give anybody enough time to do stuff, and they'll wreck your world up, man. They'll do all kinds of stuff, especially in your house for 4 hours, or you give them 45 seconds. I mean, always talk about, just split times, 20 split times. That's 5 rounds in a second. Okay, so 1 second is 5 rounds. So now we get 2 seconds. Now there's 10 rounds. Like, if you start just doing that math, you realize how efficient you better be on things, and how one thing can lead to, now that's 1 second here, and then this is 3 more seconds here, and now you've given someone 42 seconds. That's a lot of damn rounds someone can do, or a lot of things that they can cover. And I don't think people really understand that sometimes. It's just, well, if we don't do this, they won't. Well, how do you know this?
That's the it's when you start having these discussions about CQB, you're talking about kind of 3 different threat levels, right? You're talking about a real threat, right? Things that we've seen, right? The most likely course of action and most dangerous course of action, right? Those are threats that we've seen. Those are things we know exist.
Yeah.
Then there's the perceived threat. Well, what if this?
Yeah.
Well, what if this? And then there's those straight theoretical threats. And a lot of that stuff comes out in like now you got to look at the angles. It's like there's 4 of us. We can't cover all the angles.
Yeah.
Right. It's 360-degree world. Like you cannot cover and then also it's like, well, what about this guy is 3 rooms deep shooting through a tiny, and that's how he's hitting the team. Yeah. Then we're all going to get stacked there, but also now show me that guy in reality.
Yeah.
Right. And inevitably this one time, nope. When have you experienced it on this team? Right. Never? Okay, let's talk about what you have experienced. And then let's train to the most, we understand the most likely course of action of the adversary. Let's talk about the most dangerous thing. The most dangerous thing that any suspect or adversary can do is they want to fight inside the room.
Yeah.
Right? So what are we doing to prevent that? Right? And then you start to see, well, the right answer, in my opinion, is always going to be, I want to fight this at full speed. I want to steal time away so I'm doing things faster than his perceived, real time, real life speed. And how I always explain that, you think if you are in your driveway and you're sitting there and then all of a sudden you like, shit, I left my wallet in my bedroom, right? Which is a lot of people, I'm sure you've seen it retreat, right? From what I've seen, they retreat back deep into the house. Yep. They go to a bedroom and they usually all stand in one thing where they can see the doorway and they're deciding what do they want to do. The real, real life speed is that guy opens his doorway, quickly walks back to his room, gets his wallet and leaves. He can conceptualize how long it took to get back there. If I can do anything faster than what he conceptualizes as real life speed, I'm stealing that time. Yeah. And I'm putting him off balance and I'm giving myself the advantage, right, where I've already lost surprise. It's the first thing you lose on any assault. Once you go in there, you either give it up willingly, like not going to announce, or you give it up unwillingly where it's just a byproduct of the techniques that you're using. When I do that, I lose that principle. I give that one up. I have to leverage the other 2, right? Speed is the next one. Yeah. Right? It's the next one that we're going to leverage, and it's also the next one that we're going to lose, right? If he wants to fight and it becomes a true barricade, we're going to lose the ability to go fast. And then we leverage, it's violence of action. I think we were talking about this earlier. Yeah. If I had my way back in the 80s, I probably would make that initiative, right? Because it's not, violence of action to me means initiative, right? Initiative gaining devices. Yes. Things that I can employ, different strategies, right? That I can employ to regain that initiative. Sometimes time is that. Yeah. It's a barricade, right? We're going to not pursue. Bullets are coming out of the doorway. I'm not saying ever that we're going to run through that door, but we pull back and now time is what we're using to gain, surprise back again. Yeah. And I think Chris says it the best. We say like law enforcement is, 1,000,000 in waiting guys out. There's not a burglar anywhere that's still in the building. Yeah. Yeah. And then you just, but understanding that, to conceptualize CQB differently than what I think what gets put out, in terms of on YouTube or, social media. And I think there's also, it's a big consideration for departments, for individuals to look at is, am I taking my training and developing the way that I'm doing business based off of something that I saw on social media? Yeah. Or something that I saw on YouTube that I haven't experienced firsthand. Yeah. And I think that's a dangerous thing, right? Like I know I was hired by Dallas to come here, and a large part of that is because of people's perception or understanding, thinking what I used to do in the military, right? There was some level of research that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. Or we're going to hire him because of this, because of skills that we believe he has to come and convey this information. But that level of scrutiny for hiring, like, doesn't apply when people are you researching like who's talking on this video? Like, where does this information come from? Or are you looking for that? Are you looking at this video as information, or are you just bored and absorbing content?
Yeah.
Both of those are equally as bad.
No, they are.
Right? Because it starts to mess with the way that you perceive reality. That's fucking what social media, what Instagram is designed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think as a professional in any business, if you're doing your job the right way and you care and you're putting in great effort to be really good at it, whether you're the greatest or not, that's not the point. You're trying really hard to be great. It's kind of like we talked about the other day. If it's a good plan, it'll stand up to scrutiny. You may be able to come in and go, hey, maybe we ought to do this. And then if you are a professional, like, you know what, that's a good idea, Matt. Let's change that. Or like, hey, I thought about that, but here's the reason why I don't want to do it, because of ABC 1, 2, 3. Like, okay, fine. I think good pros can do that in any business. But what happens is, in my opinion, what I see is that they ask a pro or what they perceive to be a pro, your opinion or this. And then when it goes where it doesn't line up or it's not what, and I think, and Barry and I talk about this, I think it's broken into a couple of groups. One, you have guys who just simply just do not understand what they're asking. Like, they don't have a concept of operations because they've never done it. Doesn't mean they may not have been able to do it, but because of the SOPs or their command will allow them to do certain things, so they don't have a reference to like a dynamic entry and all this. Or you have two group that just, they're not capable, like they do not possess the skills to do this, and nobody's ever told them, or they refuse to listen to it. Or the ones that just don't care what anybody else says. They go, I'm building these little empires. I want to stay here. I want to make decisions based on promotability or sustainability. I want to stay here forever, and I want to be this guy. And I see that group working in and out, and I think that's what you're talking about to some of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The people build walls around like ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing for them, they build it over time, and it's thick, and it's big, and it's tall. And the hardest thing for them to do is when you come in and present something that you know to be true, right? And then you try to, hey, you've got to take part of this wall down. They're like, I've been building this for 30 years. I can't take this wall down.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can't affect that. Then good luck. But like, I know from, just like everywhere in the military, though, all the lessons that they learned doctrinally were paid for in blood. We do business a certain way because of loss, not because of wins. So every time we lose, it's looking, hey, is what we're doing right?
Yeah.
Is this the best thing, or does something need to change? Has the battlefield changed that fast to where now what we're doing is no longer effective?
Do you think leadership or lack of leadership in a lot of those places is the reason why you see it could be everybody did everything okay, it was just that one-off where we did everything right and it still went bad for us, which can happen, or they feel like because something went bad, we have to change something because I have to show that I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Does that make,
No, I think that is. And it's hard for me to speak about like the leadership part in LE, or like, well, this is what I think, but it does make sense to me that it is lack of to stand up and say, hey, I support, like, I would love it just to see police chiefs rather than, everyone's guilty of whatever. And the worst thing is like, no, I support what my officers did, and this is right because of this way. Yeah. And then actually have those stars on your collar, flex them, use them for what they're supposed to be, and stand up for dudes doing things right. Because I think the vast majority of guys are, from the LEO side, are doing it all right. Right. But they're also very, very apprehensive about what's going to happen to them if they do it wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's driving decision-making processes, and that's driving
trickles down
bad outcomes, because they're like, I know if I do this, I could potentially lose my job because no one supports me. Yeah. Right. And there's all of those factors in there. So I think it does make sense to me that it does become a leadership issue. But again, I abandoned the idea years ago that any of these organizations are going to change. Yeah. It's the best thing you can do is change individual officers at the lowest level, the end users, and set them up for success the best way that you can. Because,
Trojan horse it kind of.
Until you get, chiefs of police and commanders that are not political, right? And they're also not so far disconnected,
and that's not happening
and removed. And I think there should be, right, there should be some sort of requirement, like if you are going to be a commander you need these experience levels.
Yeah.
Right. It's not you just promote the first time it's available every time.
They send you there to get experience. It's like it's a little late in the game.
Yeah.
Well, having been there where I've seen a lot of change in command, good ones and bad ones, and the ones that were, the best ones were obviously the ones that had been there that had done, small team tactics. They don't see the grand picture of, 3,000 officers. They see the 30 right here. And the ones that do that, they can break it down to a micro level, are usually the most successful. And they're also the ones that are competent. They go, hey, what do you believe? What do y'all? And they show up to training. They know what you're capable of. So when you say something on the radio and go, hey, we need to do ABC 1, 2, 3, they're like, yeah, let's do that, or that's approved, or whatever, because they trust that, because they were there. This one time we had Mark Villarreal, who's now a 2-star chief with us. He came over to SWAT right after I did, and we ran wars together, and he came back as our lieutenant. He was there as our major. And so when he was working the CP and you would say, hey, we need to do this, he 100% knew exactly what you were saying. He knew in his mind, and he could see that overlay, that conceptual observations. Absolutely, it's approved. Go get that done. It just streamlined our process. And while he was there, it was like a heyday for us, because it was so nice having that guy, because he could run interference with the stuff that people didn't even get involved with, and at the same time he spoke your language and he understood that, and he's done it really well. And so, and they'd been on the other side where he didn't have that. It's hard. It's a hard push.
Yeah, it's common sense, right? You see it in the military, and I get it. Law enforcement is, pseudo military type organization or paramilitary type organization, but infantry officers run infantry battalions. Supply officers don't run infantry battalions, right? Because you don't have the experience in that world to do it. And that's the thing. It's like to take command of, you should be an expert at what you're taking command of, right? And I think that usually isn't the case. Or when guys are like in the LE world, that's the exception and not the rule.
Like our lieutenant now, Lieutenant Taylor, he was there as a troop. He left, got promoted, and he was there as a sergeant, and he's back as our lieutenant. So he's done it as a troop, sergeant, and now the lieutenant level. So it's so nice now having those guys in somewhat the last few years back-to-back command. That's rare, and for us, that didn't happen. So we're just waiting for it to go bad again, because we've been so spoiled the last few years that it's nice. Yeah,
it's hard too, because you get what I've noticed. Just like the right guy that becomes a SWAT officer that works hard and is working at it, he doesn't want to not be on the team.
No, we don't promote very many people.
And there's some guys you're like, hey man, like I need you to go get promoted and leave and come back. I need to fill these positions, right? And I think in terms of like a talent management, that doesn't happen, because also it's like, I think people would look at that like, dude, I'm crushing it on SWAT. Like, I want to stay here for 30 years and be a SWAT officer. I don't
want to do this.
Want to go, from you go be a sergeant, get promoted to sergeant, and then you go somewhere else. You're like, I'm not on the team anymore. How is the team even functioning when I'm not here?
And that's one of our biggest downfalls in the SWAT community, because you're right. I don't want to not do this fun shit. I don't want to do this.
I'm just as bad. I haven't done it.
Yeah, I don't want to sit and watch y'all and do all that. That's not fun to me. So that is a.
He's basically talking about us, is what he's saying.
Yeah. So it's like, man, why do I want to? I don't know.
Well, you need the right people to promote too. Just because you're a good SWAT officer doesn't mean you're going to make a good commander too. So
that is true too.
There's good SWAT guys that are not good instructors, and vice versa. So it's a right recipe, to do it the right way. And I said, the couple of guys that have done it with us, they've done it right. And I'm thankful for those guys, because not everybody's suit is cut out to, like, I wouldn't want to work in HQ. Like, I don't blend, there. So I just don't want to do it. So I wouldn't want to go. But there's guys that can juggle it. They're better. They're more well-rounded than I am. I'll say that.
Yeah. That's, it's one of the things when I was, in the military. It's like living in an outstation, living on a base, doing missions all the time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then there comes a time where it's like, you're about to do a rotation where you got to go, and now you got to work in some headquarters or an embassy as a liaison. You're like, I don't want to do this. This is, and the whole time you're just don't talk, don't say what you're thinking. Like, and that's always a good, like, say it once to yourself. Find a trusted agent, say it to him, and they'll generally be like, "Don't say that." No,
that's every day. He's telling you, "Do not say that either."
Yeah, no. Once
Yeah.
to yourself, come say it to me. Like, yeah, it's okay to say that.
I was thinking the same thing. We showed up Thursday in Fort Worth. I'm like, say it to yourself and don't say anything out loud, please, God. Let's get through these next 2 days without doing anything crazy. So,
well, we're all 49-year-old angry men right now. So we're all about to hit 50. I think I'm the oldest one, right? Because I'm in June. So and then y'all are behind me. So I'm the old guy here of the 49-year-old club here. So some days I feel like I'm.
It's
89.
the miles.
Yeah. Some days I feel like I'm 89. I'm like, damn, dude, and stuff. So what do you see? You're heavily involved in the police world. And ask a lot of these guys the same question, and I think I'll get the same answer. But what are you seeing with these police shootings that you're like, man, if they'd only worked on this or they'd only done that? What's kind of your thought process on that when you see some of these body cam videos? From
the ones that I see, they're all consistent. They all have a common theme, right? There's one thing that I would say 99% of all body cam patrol officer shootings that I see have in common is they're all fast.
Yeah.
Right? They all unfold quickly, and the shooting takes place at paces where I think for most officers, that's the first time they've ever shot at that pace.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, well, what if he did this, that, or did that? Like, it's horrible to sit in an armchair quarterback that stuff. But what I do say is, like, this is why these skills, I believe, are important.
Yeah.
Right. This is why we're training, because here's the outcome right now. I remember I posted one where it was like a murder suspect carrying a kid with turns around, has a gun on, and the officer starts shooting.
Was that the one with one hand?
Yeah. And he's running away, shooting, not
on the
looking.
icy bridge or something.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah.
And obviously it's like everybody, in the initial comments of that are like, well done, that's amazing, or whatever. It's like, wait a minute, and I put that thing into an editor, and I'm like, so find out the backstory. Like, this is like, you just approach this situation incorrectly. Like, that guy already killed the wife or the mom, and now he has like, you are in an HR situation, you just don't know you are right now. And then when he whips around and pulls a pistol out, so you would think, from that presentation, at a minimum, you should be at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I would think murder suspect or whatever, you approach it with the gun out. So, gun out already ready, giving him commands, right? And then the blind fire shooting on low percentage shots, it's like, you just hope and luck was your primary engagement strategy with that. And it worked out. You got away with it. But when you look at it, like, this is almost every bad situation all wrapped up into one incident that just happens to be filmed in very, very good video.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, when you said that, some thoughts came to my head. I'm like, okay, you're talking with this guy. You're the chief of police of that department. Like, you don't want to just kick the guy in the dick. Hey, man, good for you that you were willing to fire the gun to shoot this guy, that you were brave enough to go after this guy. All those good things. Hey, good job. But here's some things that we need to learn, because don't think this is the best way to shoot at someone, especially holding a hostage and stuff like that. And then learn from that way. I think that's where we lose it, as, like you were saying, well, you're disrespecting my shooting or this or that. You're being a I'm like, no, man, we're seeing some things that are just not good. It just was good in this situation because of luck. Yeah. And that is not.
It's hard to make a living doing that.
Yeah, we're not training that way. I mean, you can go watch an NFL game, and there's been teams that won because of a luck play, of a fumble, or just crazy stuff. They didn't plan. They didn't practice that way. It just happened. And did they win? Yeah. Hey, did they win a Super Bowl? Yeah. Or were they, whatever they get. Yeah, they won. But I guarantee you, when they go back and watch film, they're not going, hey, man, next time we're going to do the exact same thing. It's not going to happen that way. And I think that's where cops in particular, we have our egos and we get butthurt because someone can, hey, did you think about this? Or, man, wasn't the best thing.
That's one of the things I think that, teams and even, post-shoot groups of officers need to be better at is how they like hot wash things. Like, I think you could probably even do, an instruction on like, hey, this is how you debrief.
Yeah.
Right. This is how you.
Well, I think we're going to do one of the. We talked about that on the podcast, doing a train up on debriefs and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think, you go through everything, but you can hot wash by exception. But a lot of times, what happens is it's a recount of, and I'm sure you've seen it, right? Some individuals will just recount all of the good shit that they did, right? And hey, this went well. It's like, okay, let's talk about what could have been better.
Yeah. Right.
Let's do that. Let's talk about what went wrong, because it all didn't go right.
No.
It almost never does. And then look at like, is this something that needs to change? Where was it a deficiency, or like, hey, did we literally dodge a bullet on this one?
Yeah.
Right. We got lucky. We got away with it, but let's have a quick discussion about this. Can't be the norm. We need to get back on track with this is how we do business.
Yeah.
And then when you walk out of there, it's fine in debriefs, right? To argue, to fight, to have that. It's like, hey, we're done. Cool. It's all out now. It's all on the table. We're a team again. We walk outside the door and we're united again.
Yeah.
Right. And don't carry that, I would say it for years, disciplining my kids, where it's like, this happened, right? The punishment was carried out. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
Right. The big thing now is, how do we move forward from this? How are we going to learn from this? Like, what are we going to do better so that we're not back here?
No, for sure.
In the kitchen with the spoon again.
Mm-hmm. I think for like when we got into law enforcement and we were on SWAT, man, we didn't have body cameras. So all those debriefs were things that you had to remember or someone else saw. Now when you have a debrief and you're watching everybody's body camera, man, there's absolutely no hiding anything, like, because you see everything. And so I think that is even a better tool to even use to go, hey, man, like, we're watching this video, and you, if you don't call yourself out and you're not bringing up your own shortcomings on this, because there's no perfect run. I've never seen a perfect run. I mean, there's always something that we could have done differently, or this changed, or shit, we wish we'd have known this. We'd have planned this differently because we had no idea, or whatever the case may be. But I think that's a big failure for us in law enforcement a lot of times.
One of the things I've seen, in units I've been in, the right guys, and it's not debriefs start big, right? Lots of people in the room, debrief all the players, then it strips away. Mm-hmm. Right now the air elements and everything are out. Let's just the guys that were on the target on the ground. Yeah. Debrief that, right? The intel side. And then those guys leave, right? And it gets down to where now this is just the operational element, right? The troop or the team that went into the building, and then the leadership for that. And that's the time in my mind where I've seen when it's the right guys that are doing it, right? They're racing to stand up. Hey, man, this is what happened. Like shit that we'd be on big targets where I didn't even realize there was like a major incident, and one guys own it and like, this is what it did or whatever. And almost to a man, that guy is like, I completely think, if I need to step away or whatever, if it's so grave and you're like, no, it's a mistake and you owned it. We make mistakes. The pace that we're training, the pace that we're doing this, right? And there's no covering up. It's all open up there. And it's the right dudes. You don't really need to beat that dead horse. He's going to do it all himself. Yeah. He's going to hold himself really, really accountable for that and be pissed off, and it's going to affect him. And then as good teammates, our job is to now bring him back to zero, right? Reset, like, hey, it's over. Stop living. Yeah, I know. I just shut the fuck up, man. Yeah. Like, we're past it. You're past it. Now we got to go forward.
Yeah. And right? and it's hard because all of us are, we mess up and you're like, damn it, man, I knew better than to do that. And it is a hard thing to reset, but you're right. Like, we had Matt come out a couple weeks ago. It was my practice. So I was like, hey, man, I want you to come out, evaluate us. Because I hate, when it's your practice, you're like, well, shit, I'm setting everything up. I don't get to run with the guys. And I think it's good to have outside people come in and evaluate that. And that was one of those things, too. I like what you said, Matt, is like, hey, man, what I'm doing, being the instructor, it's easy. You're doing the hard part because you're the ones that are doing this and doing that. I know what I set up. I know what I'm looking for and everything. Like, you don't know, you have no idea when you come in there. But I think that's a good thing, and it is good to have outside people come in and evaluate you, to give a perspective that maybe you don't have, or to give you some things that go, hey, what about this? And then as a team, go, hey, yeah, you know what? This is where we need to work on. This is where we did pretty good. This is where we didn't do very well. This is where, hey, you know what, guys, there's all skill set levels here. Hey, we know where we need to work with some of these guys with. Some of these guys have it, some of them don't, and they need to be trained up to it. So I think that's another part of just as a team evaluating things like that. You know, that's important. So I do appreciate that, because you did it in a really good way, man. Like, hey, I have no emotional attachment because this is not my team, and I think that's a good way to look at it. You know?
Well, no, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate, y'all asking me to do it. Again, it's not hard to set up runs. I mean, that's easy, to be able to bring up, certain things and all that. But the good part about it is that, and vast majority of guys I know pretty well. Yeah. So I can say, hey, Brandon, what about this, that? And everybody just talk like, hey, it's very matter of fact. And it goes to your level of professionalism as a team to have somebody come in that's willing, or that you're willing to let come in and see you potentially at your worst. Like, you're going to get exposed. And believe me, if you set up runs for Dallas SWAT, 10 runs, there's going to be one of them where we're like, man, that was a total bomb. Like, we should all just be kicked out of here. That's how bad that run was, or whatever. But that's fine, because, and I think, ask Matt about this, when you have confidence in what you're doing, you put in the effort, you've trained, and you, not to sound pompous, but they're like, look, I know I've worked hard to try to really do this. I think we're capable of doing this. We can absorb that hit, hear what you have to say, take it in, conceptualize it. And I think good teams can do that almost on the fly. Like, we can do that. You can go set up another run real quick. Like, okay, we screw that up, Brandon, don't ever effing do that again. Don't do this, do that. That's a piece of whatever. Like, okay, copy that. Just re-rack this thing, go in there and get it done. Okay, good job, everybody. That's what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. And then you don't rest on that one either. Here comes the next run, and here comes the next run. And I see what people have to do is that they've turned into, what Matt was saying, we have a bad run. Well, then they shield up. Like, I don't want anybody to penetrate my suit of armor because we messed up. Well, if you haven't messed up, I tell people, then you haven't run enough ops, because you will. Because I'm here to tell you, I have run my share of them, and I still, like, man, I was a little too far left on that, or a little more right, or I was slow, or I was a little ahead. Yeah. Or
how did I not see that?
And when you have a large team and a lot of experienced guys, there's very little doesn't get noticed. Mm-hmm. Guys pick up on stuff, and you're just almost waiting for somebody to come around and go, that's on me, like, yeah, I saw that, whatever. And you're just, but like your point, hey, you owned it and all that, because don't think but at the same time, I've done it. That's how I know you're doing it wrong, because I've done it wrong. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think how you set conditions for training are really important, especially when we're talking about, tactics training, right? Like, to me, I think there needs to be times where we're almost welcoming failure, because we are training hard. We're training realistically, right? It can't, if it's always zero sum, we're not willing to accept defects, then the outcome is going to be skewed, right? Like you said, when a guy shields up, like, I just don't want to see anyone make me a mistake. So he's going to be hesitant. He's going to be, you'll see him, guys position themselves in the house where they are not going to be the ones making decisions up front or pushing the fight. So it's like, look, like, I was always under it, if I want mistakes to happen in the house, right? I want to see them. I want you to make a mistake and see it. That's the only way that people learn. That's why we're out here training.
Yeah.
Now, when we're there as a team, it's like, yep, make mistakes, own them. Now, if you keep making the same mistake over and over, we've got to have a discussion about that. Yeah. But in terms of the pace we're training, how we're pushing it, what we're trying to develop in terms of all of this hard skills on, introduced into a TTP, then mistakes are going to happen. But we make those mistakes in the house so we don't make them on real objectives. Then when you get the troop together and it's more than one team, like, all right, guys, like, now we're demonstrating in our little bit bigger group that we can, perform this at a very high level. We're building confidence in us. More importantly, we're building trust and confidence with the other teams that when we're coming into our side, they know we're not going to fuck up and we're going to do our piece of this, right? Mistakes will still happen, but then it's team internal, teams taking care of themselves. Then you come together with 3 other troops. Now we're doing something in terms of like a capability or a readiness exercise. That is when it's like now we're showing the commanders what this force can actually do at speed, no fail, 0 defect, right? And that's where we don't want to see the same mistakes, or we're not necessarily willing to have those things be okay.
But you paved that road earlier by making those mistakes.
By making them.
Yeah, and I think that's where people, they don't see the end game. Like you will do this before. I was watching a video. Mike Trout. He's a great baseball player. Plays for the Angels. He's a generational talent, and he was out there and he was telling the BP. He goes, "Put it right here. I'm having trouble hitting this ball." And he was having his pitchers like throw the ball at a certain a certain spot because he wanted to work on it. Like he's considered one of the best of all time, or of this generation, and yet there he is out working on that little thing because he knew, and that's why he's great. That's why great. Obviously, he has talent. He's in the major leagues. He's there. He has ability that most of us don't possess. But yet, there he is out there going even that much further. And that's the reason why he's one of the best.
And you see that where guys training, on their own, right? And I see it with a lot of different officers. The departments aren't going to get you there. Your team's not going to get you there, right? You can't rely on just when that training set up. And I'm sure even as a full-time team, right, the first thing that's going to get cut is training.
Absolutely.
Right? Because operational stuff takes priority. You're not going to if you have a thing like, hey, we're going to either cut out training or we're going to cut out this administrative requirement. Training's gone.
Yep.
Right? Because we got to make the machine run and all of that. So you rely heavily on, just like guys, maintaining their physical readiness and their physical shape. You rely heavily on that guys are doing at least some amount of work, whatever that looks like, whether it's hard skill work. I think even 3 or 4 guys sitting around, drinking a beer and then conceptualizing and discussing and debriefing stuff, or now what ifing. Hey, this is what I do. This is my piece of this assault. This is what I saw.
Yeah,
right.
My crew had you for 2 days. You're not going to make elite warriors in 2 days, right? You're trying to give us data points and things to objectives to work on. Like, hey, but yet if we never revisit what you told us, are we going to be any better? We had you for those 2 days. No. A year from now, you come back, we don't do any of them. It was just a waste of time and ammo, right? But that's just like anything. Whether it be a debrief or a hot wash on some training, like when I was doing with those guys, or doing training with you take that. We're all running little notes, and I had a little steno pad back here making notes down. And what was funny is some guys wrote down almost the exact same thing, like, oh, what you had said. We wrote that down as something to go back and revisit later, and I think that's what what I consider professionals. You're going to do that. You're going to take that in, and we're going to sit down next week. We already talked about it. We're going to sit down next week. We're going to have a good hour or two talking about the last week with you, and how do we take those things, good, bad, and indifferent, advance that going forward, because that's what you're supposed to do. No class you've ever gone to will make you a master of anything.
No, and I think there's also from what the competitive guys that we would bring in that have the ability to shoot with, and we would have 5 days with a guy where individuals are shooting 7,000 rounds in 5 days. Like, it's a lot of shooting,
that's a lot.
To ramp it up. But even then, like, no one is getting appreciably better during that training. You're working on things and concepts that now you're able to take with your team or with yourself and try to implement those in your own training and figure out what works, how do you mold it to fit, your need. But I believe that firmly. Like, no one gets appreciably better in a 2 or 3 day course.
No. Yeah. Well, there's been things that I've heard since I first started my shooting journey of that I'm just now catching or understanding. Like, well, I've heard that, but I heard it from this person's perspective because they worked on it and they got to the level where the light bulb came on for them. So they were able to tell me about this in this training, but I didn't understand it like I do now. Man, I see that a lot just within my training of, oh man, that light bulb finally came on. Okay, so now I got to work on this next light bulb to come on. There's always these light bulb moments that you continue to have with that.
Yeah. And I think a big takeaway that for courses, at least the way that I do courses, is I want guys to, it's like you're pushing them over a cliff, right? They're going to start rolling and rolling and rolling. They're going to pick up speed.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're setting conditions where exploration, like self-exploration of what you're doing, is how you train. Right? I can tell you the words. This is what I did. This is what I found worked for me. Right? And those are, I would say, like, that's a value level of 1.
Yeah.
Right? Understanding, like, this was how I trained. Right? That's way more valuable. Right? It doesn't matter. We're all going to hold the gun differently. We're all going to have different ideas about that. You try to bring that stuff out in terms of exploration. I think, me and Ben both call it, we do awareness exercises. Right? You're not going to ever train this again.
Yeah.
Right? You may take it and go visit it, but this is an exercise we do to show you, have you understand your connection to the rifle and how you should change it, or if you should change it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's one of those awareness drills that we've been doing is the biggest thing I see the benefit is that guys are doing and then they're like, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Yeah.
Or with the rifle, it's like almost across the board. Like everyone's like, I'm holding the gun too fucking tight. Like I am just muscling this thing around and I don't need to.
Yeah.
Right. And then you tie that into, the vision discussions about what we're doing and where you're looking, visual control, visual discipline, and all of that stuff. And but it keeps going back to like this awareness thing. Like, are you aware of what's happening and when it's happening?
Yeah.
And that's the real important thing that I think in a course that you can cue people into is when the mistake happens, they felt it.
Yeah.
And now you keep making that mistake, but now you felt it. You know how to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I think I called you up the other day and we were talking and you're like, hey man, next time you do this, just when the red hits the brown, just go. Try to get in the 4-second range and go fast, and you'll start figuring it out. And I'm like, okay, I remember that. And sure enough, man, I did it the last time I was training. I'm like, holy shit, man. And then I was able to, quote, slow it down to shoot my vision. And I was like, damn, man, that was fast. That was, wow. I had no, but then I started understanding the whole time sequence. It was just playing in the background, but I understood it. I felt it, and I knew it, and it was like, okay. That's when I texted you. I was like, man, maybe you know what you're doing, man. After all,
it took you this long, to finally listen to him.
I'll tell you, it's the simplest thing. Like everybody stresses about the 40-yard line in CQB warm up.
Yeah,
and it's like you want to not stress about it. Force yourself to shoot it in 4 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's completely doable. Right, I demo it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, but that becomes, okay, you can move it. The work on training is, can you get acceptable hits? Can you shoot 50% alphas? Right? I'll take 2 Charlie, drop to the prone, 2 alpha, all day long in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Hit factor-wise, it works out great. And then when you shoot it under the par time, 6 seconds is like, you'll be able to shoot that thing, and then you checked your mag, your gun slung, and you're relaxing when you hear the second beep go off.
Yeah.
Like, it's the whole premise. Like, you want to get really good at driving 150 miles an hour, drive 200. Yeah. You just got to set conditions in your own training where it's okay for it to not be perfect, and it's for the sake of exploration, and you're pushing it. You should be uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah. Did you have something I think there's a segue into something I was going to bring. Did you have something you wanted to say anything else?
No, go ahead, man.
Well, you're talking about the 150, 200 miles an hour, and this, you and I were talking about this, going back to like the shootings, like, you were talking about the data points and all that. And I get asked that a lot, like, well, what was was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Was it all these, they're looking for all these little, nuances or factors that come into play. And I'm like, we run them from early morning to late night and everything in between. Like the vast majority of them are during the daytime, just because that's just the way the world works. But we've done it at all times. And what happens is that they're looking for, like you said, well, if you can do it fast at 6:30 at night when it's getting dark, in the wintertime, or you can do it at 10 a.m., should it really matter? And it's kind of like, no. I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you hear people ask, well, the part times, or how that relates to being able to do an entry and doing an operation, like if you're training at a certain speed or an acceptable level, like it all just kind of turns into gray, right? Like all that stuff works. It works itself out because you're doing all these things right. All that superfluous stuff just kind of fades away, I guess. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Superfluous stuff. Look at you, man. Wow.
I looked that up right before I came over.
Big brain on Matt.
Well, it took me like over an hour to get it in. So
Yeah.
But does that make
it does, and it's the the training. Experience it in training, right? And you're at a very high level, and you're able to perform, right? And you've developed that skill. And then when you introduce that into any technique or TTP or your actual like application of your job, it just runs in the background.
Right.
You just you're not having to think about
all these apps are running in the background. And I think that's because people are looking for that golden key to unlock everything that makes the operation. It's like, it's not, if it was, somebody would have already made it and sold out. Like it would have happened.
Everybody wants the fucking Ozempic of training, right? Like what can I don't want to.
The Ozempic of training.
I like going to the gym, but I'm not going to eat right? And you see it all the time. It's like, I want to shoot fast and be good at all these tactics. It's like, okay, you got to go to the range and work on it. Right, it's the shooting part is the diet, the working out is or the going to the gym. That's the tactic side of it. But it's what you do when you're not doing that feeds into it. And I don't think there is no easy button, and there's no secret anything.
No,
it's
the day-to-day grind, right? That's what it is. And we have a lot of people reach out to us or the command about dynamic and running warrants and the rate of success. And it's like, do you think that just happened? Like one day we went in there and just picked it up with the quartermaster and said, hey, this is how we're going to do things. Like that was going on when I got there. It was going on when the guys that were the senior guys when I got there, they were doing that for a long time. Like that, it is baked in all those years of the range and the shoot house and, and debriefs and running ops. All that is baked in. Like you cannot pick it up on Instagram or a 3-day class. And people look for that. And Brandon and I have had these discussions. The guys will come to classes. They're like, Matt, how do I get our team to be able to run this? I was like, you should not be running this. Not for, I think you and I talked about this in the training. You're a 12-month out, at the minimum. Like if you decided today and had approval, do this, but they don't want that. It's like, well, I want, and like, look, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but you have to be realistic. Even if you were switched on, ready to go, and you could do it, does not mean everybody else is. But they hate on you when you say that because you're like, well, I'm like, you asked, I'm trying to help you. I'm telling you, because if you do this and you go out and screw it up, you'll never get it back. No. You'll ruin it for everybody.
You won't. Yeah. You want to build a 10,000 square foot house, but you want to build it on sand. Mm-hmm. Put the money, put the time, you got to build the foundation, right? That cement's got to cure. It's got to be hard before you put the first board up on it. Yeah. And people don't see that, right? Because that is not it's not the answer. Like from a training industry perspective, like hard work does not sell. Like, what's your product? Like, hey, you guys need to work your ass off on this. Yeah. Right. That's how you're going to get better. No.
Swipe right by you.
I want you to tell me how to get better. Yeah. You got to work. Yeah. It's going to take a lot of effort, right? Yeah. And it's going to take resources to do, and it's going to take, your own time and your own effort are the two biggest resources. Then you're going to have to find a little bit of ammo somewhere to shoot to kind of test all this stuff. Yeah. But I've seen guys evolve, over the last couple years. One guy specifically that I talk with all the time, and he is working his ass off, and he did it. He was having a hard time joining a club, couldn't even find a range to shoot in Pennsylvania. And I'm still watching his video after video, and he'd send them to me, and I would like, hey, think about this. And then he's taking his concealment stuff and he's applying it to boxing. He's like, high level, got some high level boxing training. So he already has hands. He already understands about training and isolation. He already understands about suffering, right? And he applies all that to this gun stuff. Before he shot his first live round at his club, right, he already had a year of skill. And people are like, how the hell did you get so good? Mm-hmm. And it's like, work.
Right.
That was it. There was no secret, right? And you watch his first video and watch a video now, and it's like he's doing the same thing. He's executing it where it's technically near perfect at very, very high aggression and performance levels. Like, but he did that by consistent, constant work, right? And he dove into it, and he kind of submitted to, hey, this is the process, right? I'm not outcome focused, I'm process focused. And now I have to be excited about the process. And none of that as a product for a training company or training industry sells well. You know, it's like, no, I need to know the science words for why I'm not doing well, right? I need to learn that to do it better. And what I've learned is at the highest level, like when we're training, we are not having scientific discussions about how to get better.
No.
At least, you know, I never have and continue. We don't have it. You know, it's like we work on things, we deal in concepts and deal in principles and then grind on those things. Mm-hmm. It's not like, it's not a natural ability, right? I had for years, I said, well, you can naturally pull the trigger faster. It's like, well, you notice how when you come into work at 7 o'clock, I'm already here every single day because I'm doing a lot of shit that you don't see.
Yeah.
Right. That I'm doing it in isolation by myself. It's my thing that I'm doing. Right. And then you're seeing the result of it and you're telling me that this is a natural skill.
Yeah.
No, this is 10 hours a week of consistent work
doing that
I'm trying to crush, and that's what it takes.
Yeah,
you know. But and to be honest with you, like the reality of the situation is that like police officers or people who carry guns for a living do not need to possess really high level of skill to solve their problems with that tool, right? Either operation or whatever. I think, you know, if the average cop shooter could be a B-class shooter, right? In terms of you have to have some sort of classification on it, and people know USPSA. A B-class shooter, they would all look like rock stars.
Yeah, it would be a game changer.
It would be, right? And it's very easy to achieve, you know, for civilians with very, very little work.
Yeah,
right. But they have to have the desire to want to improve, right? It's just like getting into shape. If you don't want to get in shape, no amount of world-class programming and, you know,
supplements won't make it work.
Yeah. No. Yeah. There's not, you know, you can't take your Sormalin pill and be on TRT and all of that shit, and then you're just somehow going to get jacked.
Yeah.
At some point you need to start working, right? And then you have to work super hard at it, right? You have to be uncomfortable for most of the time that you're doing it. And shooting's no different. It's guys know this, like SWAT guys know this from physical training.
Yep.
But they don't apply the same metric to shooting. And to me that's always been odd. Like when you try to draw the, like, why don't you treat it the same way?
I think it just goes to tactics too. This another discussion is that it's like they want it to be prescribed to them. Nope, I was supposed to go here because the last run, you know, Matt, you told me I need to go here. Well, that was fine because the suspect was here or the hostage was there. And then when you change it on them, and then when you critique them or say, hey, there's probably a better way of doing this, they get, you know, because they do want the easy button. They want, you know, something to, it is like, I'm sorry, you will not get any better if you're looking for a preconceived flight path on how to solve the problem inside this house.
Yep.
It will not happen. That's what they want, and that's what you're seeing this training. Here's another segue. This is what you're seeing some of these training groups and these guys getting out of the mill or whatever, that they're imprinting these flight paths on these guys. Like, just do this every time and it'll work out for you. And like, it will not work out, and I can show you the room that will not work.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no. I'm like, okay. I
think I call it Rolodex training.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, this is how I handle this situation. They write that down. They put it in the Rolodex. And then they're like, oh, well, what if this? Oh, you do that. This is the answer for that. This is the answer for that. So you don't understand the concept of what we're trying to do inside this room. You don't understand the tactic that we're using, right, and where the outcome needs to be. Because there's a lot of different, you know, I get it. Efficiency, the shortest path between 2 points is a straight line.
Right.
but there's a lot of different ways to get to those 2 points based off variables that present themselves. But you have to understand, like, what are we, conceptualize, like, what are we trying to do, right? How do we dominate this room? How do we win this fight?
Yeah.
And that's the real understanding of it that you can't give someone the answer to.
Yep.
It goes into, like, it's reps, it's time under tension, it's seeing many, many situations, right? And just, there's no one answer. Like, I would say for most situations that I've seen in CQB, there's not just one answer.
There's several different forms of that, because you watch, like, a team run, and they run, quote, the same tactic, and 3 teams can do the same scenario 3 different ways, and they all can be right. The way they ran. Well, one guy, he did this, and so that way this guy did this, or this guy did this, and it worked out because they were within their TTP of doing it. But no one was sitting there saying, "Hey, man, you got to do it this way every single time." Or even planning things. We were talking earlier last week on the phone, and you were saying you're working with some guys, and you're like, "Hey, we started out working. We wanted to do perfect, like, schoolhouse CQB." And then we bumped it up to now we're doing this, and we're running faster, but we're working on, there was a method to the madness, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, when you do CQB on a live hit, it's not going to be picture perfect. It's not going to be perfect.
No, it's not. And there's too many variables in there. But when we, like I focus on the training side of it, and that's where it's like, I can talk to you about how to be technically perfect.
Yeah.
And why we're hard on, exactly where your point is, exactly the distance, how much off the wall, how these sectors of fires look. And then when we're running, with that team, we were doing dry ones, and I'm harping on, like, I know you think it doesn't matter to be 1 foot over to the left, but that's not technically perfect. And there's no stress now. There's nothing. So I need to see technical perfection. I need to see everyone understands where you're coming up in this room. That's how the fields of fire interlock. It's why this becomes as safe as it can be, and it's why this is a team event and not just one guy going in there, because we're all supporting each other, but it relies heavily that everyone is doing their piece, right? And the first step, I think, is you have to be technically perfect. Like, there's no disputing that. And then once you're technically perfect, now we can start to add aggression in it, right? We can start to add variables in there, because I know you can execute it technically perfect. So now I need to see it. You do it at speed. Yeah. And then the conversations, like with the whole dynamic thing, a lot of people have a misunderstanding that dynamic CQB is running. Or has really anything to do with how fast the individual is moving. Yeah. And I believe it's how fast everyone is going from task to task to task with no delay. Yeah. Yep. Right.
The efficiencies.
That's the dynamic piece of it. You demo, you do any training. Like, I'll go to do CQB training, and it always starts with a discussion, right? What do you want to get out of this, right? If they're like, well, we want to learn points it down, you got to call someone else, right? I'm not the dude to do an overhaul of your tactic. How I like to train, CQB with teams is what do you use, right? You'd be surprised how many teams you come into that don't know how to articulate what they're doing.
Oh yeah, no, we've seen it. And then what they tell you is not even what they are actually doing.
Yes,
because it's a catchphrase, right? It's out there. How many times have we talked about that? And Brandon, I'll be sitting back like, what they said they run strong wall or point, whatever they want to use. They don't. Like, that's not even close to that. No, it's some kind of bastardized hybrid version of it that somebody that copied it and cut and paste. And I'm like, and then y'all ask different teams or different guys in the same team, and they'll give me totally two different answers. I'm like, well, there's no way you're going to win successfully over the long haul, because you and Brandon are speaking two different languages on the same team.
You're on the same team.
Yeah, and if
that makes sense. Yeah.
I always get put where they're like, do you know how to do this? Like, I know how to do all the CQB. Like, that's, by definition for me, that's what being an expert at something is. Yeah. Right? You don't think it's not, organizations I've worked at, or we didn't do, limb pen as what's taught, but you don't think we didn't look at it?
Yeah.
and try, like guys can't execute it.
Highly aware of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like strong 100% can do that
Yeah.
at speed with any doorway procedure you want. And it can teach you back what it is. Like that is what having a PhD in this shit really is for 30 years, you know? It's like, you're not going to bring something to me where it's like, no, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Right. But what happens is guys will see a real flash picture of something, right? Step center is one that is very, very, like the explanation of what that is it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right? And they're like, well, this is what so-and-so unit does. I don't think so. I don't think you have the understanding. And also, how you're explaining this is wrong. That's not what you're saying and what you're doing are two different things. And also what you're doing is not what came out of Range 37 10 years ago, which they even understood that shit was confusing as hell. We're not going to teach this anymore, right? And they removed it from what they teach. And it's that thing. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. And then the guys that are promoting this and that are the loudest about it are the ones with the least experience.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not mill dudes doing it.
Yeah.
Right. It's coming from like former law enforcement guys, you know, and there's, you know, for whatever I always look at like, hey, you are now running a training company. You were a cop for 5 or 6 years, right? You're on SWAT team for a couple of years, and now you're running a training company. Like, there's a story there.
Yeah, you always, that's always a big red flag. I'm like, so yeah, you're on a SWAT team for 2 or 3 years, and now you're retired. Quote, I'm like, man, there is more to that story, and more times than not, there are. Like, you got kicked off the team, you left the department because you're gonna get some other crazy bullshit like that.
It's also like I honestly don't give a shit about people's backgrounds, and I don't think people should care about mine. Right? I think what I'm the most is what can you actually do, right? If you're going to do, you're doing shooting and training content, or this is what you're doing. But what I see is low skill level.
Yeah.
Like at what point, you know, why can't what you're selling be like a demonstration of how well you've trained yourself?
Yeah.
Like that's right. I think that's the best marketing thing. It's not a video. It's like, this is my system and this is what I can do.
Yeah.
Right. And there's all different levels to the shit.
No, for sure. Well, going back to talking about kind of schoolhouse perfect CQB, when you set up a couple of runs for us, and one of the runs, one of my new guys went to the left, and he should have taken that door, but he stopped short of it. And then another guy did it, and both of them were newer guys. And then I watched a couple other runs, same run, and it was our senior guys, and they took care of the door, shot the bad guy and stuff. But it goes back to when we were talking about these new guys. They were wanting to run perfect CQB in a hostage rescue environment training scenario. I'm like, we're not doing that. The guy's like, we're not doing that. Like, this is totally different now. You should know the rules, and now we're getting outside these rules because, man, we're having to do this. But it was funny watching that and then talking with the guys, and that was one of the things like, hey, Matt, what was one of the big takeaways? He's like, hey, man, you know, some of these guys are just sticking with this is what I was told to do. And like, so now we're having to discuss this with these new guys like, hey, this is when we're giving you the permission to let's go. I mean, don't wait on us. Like this has to do that.
Well, they want black and white. There's nothing against you, especially as a new guy. I was a new guy. I screwed plenty of stuff up, and they're like, "You're an idiot. What are you doing?" You know. And I had people moving me around like I've done it.
Yep.
But at the same time, that's the reason why I know that's wrong, because I've been been that guy. And I think that, to your point, Matt, that's where the experience comes from. You know, like you know, people don't care about with your background, but like one of the things we wrote up about the HR training is like, look. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are promoting that they can teach you a hostage rescue or go over stuff with you. Be careful about where you spend your money and who you bring in, because I not to name names, but I was asked to go to observe a class. A guy was brought in who's a mill guy. It's not to pick on mill guys, but anyway, he was just putting this thing out. And like within 2 hours, everybody in that class was like, "This is the worst class I've ever been to." And the guy put himself off as really knowing a lot of this stuff. And what happened was people would ask him just legitimate questions like, hey, how does this compare to this? What's your thoughts on this? And he would just be like, well, that's just dumb. Just don't do that. Like, yeah, people will not take that answer very long. And, and if they have any inkling of what they're talking about, they should, you probably have an idea of like how does that dovetail into what I'm talking about here? Like here, because you've seen, like you said, I can run any CQB you want. The reason why I don't run that is because I know it's not good, or I know it has limited applications or whatever. That's the reason. Not that you don't know how to do it, and I think that's they don't differentiate between those two.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so yeah.
I think too. There's it's I can make a video. I can sit here on a pod and I can be whatever I want to be. Yeah. It's the internet.
Yeah,
you know what? I am an expert at this.
Yeah,
and then now when you're standing with actual bona fide gun professionals that do it for a living, right? It's like you better have like all your ducks in a row, right? You better have the experience that you're promoting that you have, because again, like the questions were like the first 2 days we're working, there are guys that Joe was asking, he was asking phenomenal questions about stuff because of things that he wanted to talk about, things that I probably never would have talked about in the course, and it's training ideas and concepts. And it's the same, you better be able to speak to it. You better be able, but I speak to that stuff about my first person experience in my own training journey and what I've done. So it's if I dismiss something where it's like, no, that's stupid. Yeah, okay, I'm going to say that, but I'm going to explain it as to why this is, for instance, why this has happened. This is my firsthand actual experience with this, and these were the pitfalls, and these were the outcomes, and that's why I don't think it's good. Yeah. Right? And a lot of guys, I don't think they can do that on the training side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, going back to them, to your point, you had a couple of guys, the newer guys, didn't snap on that, that doorway, and we had some issues. Yep. And then the next couple of runs, the guys, same run, different crew, didn't have any idea. It was all organic to them. They all did it just right. And so it was the same team, different guys doing different things. So it's not like you go, because if you just took a flash picture of the first two runs, like, well, these guys are screwed up. They don't have any idea what they're doing. They're shit. They're all this. Yeah. But then you watch the next two runs, the guys did it exactly what they're supposed to do. So it is not a team, failing. It is on an individual level. This guy was unaware of what that scenario is, and that's where I think that a lot of teams don't come in and go, "Hey, here's the reason why ABC 1, 2, 3," and because I think was it Devers was the first one that came in and got it, or was it? Sean? Sean, Yeah, Sean, the first one came in. He did that, and I'm like, "Here's the reason why it worked here. Yep. Y'all came in the same room, same scenario, nothing changed." Here's where it went wrong for y'all and went right for him, and did this, and it was almost everybody like, oh, it was just like that light went off. But the guys that can't cross-reference those, and that's what I think a lot of guys are getting, because they're hungry for they're hungry for help. They're getting it, but it's not the right kind of help, and then they're left unfulfilled, and so they're reaching out and.
It's like eating Chinese food.
Just can't get enough.
You're hungry. 20 minutes later,
you're like, "Damn, man."
I'm going to use that in the next class. I'm going to steal that one. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And you're real big too, Matt, when with CQB, that hey, the shooting should already be there.
I believe
like you're real big on that. And accountability and shooting and paper targets. Hey, we need to be accountable for this shit. It's 5 yards away. Come on.
Yeah, it's got to run, guys. That needs to be like on autopilot for officers, for guys that have that as a requirement for their profession. Like, you need to realize, like, this fight is going to be fast as shit. Yeah. Right. It's measured in fractions of a second. Yep. And then in terms of delivery, think of the rifle, the confined space, everyone's around. You have to be absolutely perfect where these rounds go. Yeah. Right? You can't be clearing towards teams or drywall walls and send an errant shot, or even send a shot through not the the thickest part
like
of
an arm
the
or something.
target where you want, right? You got to make them go where you want them to go, because as we all know, just like bullets going through glass, bullets hit anything, they do weird things.
Yep, they do.
They go in arms and they come out 90 degrees and go into the opposing corner. It's why we, there's so much effort put into probably the rounds that you shoot, what you're taking into the house in terms of the right penetration, and this is going to get us the effects. And then that level or, commitment to developing skill and understanding and trust that you have, where now I can have an officer standing here, an officer standing, in the opposing corner with a suspect sort of in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, that's why I think it's like you look at that, that'd be like the absolute worst case of something, in reality, I think that problem gets solved much, much sooner than that. But that's the absolute worst case, which is why you see it with newer guys. They go in there, they're thinking about where they're supposed to stand. They're thinking about the technique, the procedural things that they have to do. And then all of that's running. Now they're stressing out to take this 4-foot shot on the move on a photographic target with a Sims rifle. Mm-hmm. It's like, we got to go back. Like we're cart before the horse a little bit.
Yeah.
We got to go back to the range. We got to do things on the range to get you comfortable operating at a really high level. And then most importantly, what I'm a big believer in, I've got to tie in what happens on the range with what I want to happen in the house. Mm-hmm. Right? If those two things are disconnected in terms of speed, performance, accuracy, right, I'm not doing the best thing for training. And then the only real discussion is like, well, what's the best thing? I mean, that's, you get as creative as you want. I tell everybody, like, I believe in daylight, CQB training distances are 20, 30, and 40 meters, yards, whatever. Yeah. What do they say? We shoot in yards, but we brag in meters.
That's good. So, I'll remember that. Yeah, that's good.
But those are, my mind, that's where I'm stressing foundational skills, where I'm shooting 3 yards, 5 yards, or 5, 7, and 10-yard pace at 20 and 30 and 40. And because now I'm actually stressing fundamentals, it's going to look different. The training, it's going to be harder, but I'm trying to tie cause and effect together, build awareness on what I'm doing at very high levels of speed. Yeah. So when I come up to 5, we all know shooting a rifle at 5 yards, I really don't have to do anything well.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a good connection. The bullets aren't really going to go much outside of the scoreable zone.
Yeah.
But if you go back to 20 and now you shoot that 5-yard pace at 20 in terms of doubles or bills drill or triples or any type of engagement sequence, now you start to see, I got to do everything right.
Yeah.
Right. I've got to have the vision under control. I've got to be disciplined. I have to have the right connection. Yeah. I have to let the gun do its thing. I need to not influence it unduly with, applying pressure while I'm in the shoot. Like all of those things.
Or do the cool Instagram, I'm coming in and, button hooking left and got my gun off my shoulder, and do that at 40 yards. And
to me, that's the guy that, right, you're in a bar, you're pushing, you guys sign the social contract, we're going to go out and fight.
Yeah.
Right? The guy that comes in with the gun over his shoulder is the guy that goes out into the parking lot and pushes me. We're past this, bud.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Please do that, right? You've created a seam now that I will exploit and just feed you my will for the next 30 or 40 seconds. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if you go, you're entering that room, right? I'm always entering a room, rounding a corner, anything where I think I'm chasing somebody. I expect that guy is going to be standing on the other side.
Yeah.
You're right. So be ready for it.
Yeah.
And then just backwards plan it. Like, what's the best way to be ready, right? And I get it. Guys will say, well, you could shoot at this distance like that. Yeah, can you discriminate at that distance, at that speed, right? The gun is collapsed. There's no other place where we do that. And I have yet to see anybody on the range taking shots with the gun over their shoulder.
No,
to practice it. And I know, for me, like shooting a pistol from the hip, and it's not for sake of not ever trying this extensively, but I am horrible at it. Mm-hmm. Right? I cannot hit. Some dudes can just dunce plate racks like Taron Butler from the hip. I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
not me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I would just say in the training that we do, have a lot of guys coming in from out of town wanting to, would be the TTPOA, advanced SWAT, whatever, or our HR. I'm always amazed, and I lead off of this, like you've been on the team year, 2 years. How often have you done, a carbine class or a hostage rescue class or almost none of them ever do, or never have. And they're just like, well, they haven't sent me to it. And so like, okay, how long have you been on SWAT? I've been there for a year. Okay, what class did you go through? What have you been through? What training? I went through basic SWAT, and because I'm a gas guy, I went through a 40-millimeter gas lethal 3-day school. Okay? And so in a year time, what have you gone through? Basic SWAT and then a 40-millimeter 3-day gas lethal school.
Check the boxes.
Check the box. But, yeah, you work for Department A, but Department B had the basic SWAT school, so you went through with them and you did their CQB or whatever it is, where the training is, and yet you go back and integrate with your guys. And they're like, I have never been through because in fact for us, we have a 3-day carbine class just for SWAT guys, and they come over after they're selected. And they're like, well, now I went through patrol rifle on the department. Like, we don't have a carbine. We don't have any kind of performance or advanced. I hate to use the word advanced, but you know what I mean, something other than the basic. And they're like, no. And so then you have guys, I've been there, we had a guy from a department. He had been on the SWAT team for 18 years. That was his first documented hostage rescue training he's ever been to in 18 years.
I believe it.
Yeah. And every time we do this, I'm like, why am I still surprised by this? But the last class we did, other than the guys that applied with us that were wanting to go through it because they want to get selected, get a chance to be seen by us, everybody, 100% of the out-of-town guys had never been through an HR school, and yet some of them have been on their team 7-8 years. Yeah. And it's the same guys that never go seek out the country, but the training. They're not seeking anything out. And so they're just so far behind the curve.
I see it with tons of cops where they're, SWAT, not, patrol. It's like, hey, what are you doing to get better with your pistol? What are you doing to get better with your rifle? Yeah. And if that sentence starts with we shoot, or they have a shoot, that you're wrong. Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. Right? You're like, hey, I'm trying to dry fire 2 times a week. Mm-hmm. Good. That's a good start. Yeah. Right? 1 time a week. 1 time for 10 minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just get up, do 10 minutes of not something. Mm-hmm. Right? Or do it while you're watching TV. Right? That will, if you're a patrol guy, like, right, level 3 holster, just learn to index from the draw.
Yeah,
right. That's the critical skill that you need. Yeah. Right. Learn to get that gun out, in as close to a second and a half from a level 3 holster as you can, with the dot or sights arriving at what you're looking at lined up. Yeah. Right. Or dot in the center of the window. If you do that, you are light years ahead of where you are not doing that for the engagement that you will have. Yeah. Right. When it presents itself, that is going to be a piece of it. Right. So learn that one skill.
Yeah. Well, I think now with technology the way it is and all these body cameras getting out so fast, it's probably always been there. It's just we haven't had the influx of information videos that we have now. But every week it seems like there's an HR patrol situation that someone is shooting someone that's a hostage, and it's patrol base that's doing it. It's not SWAT teams that are doing it. I mean, so this is not just for SWAT. It's for anybody who's carried a gun, especially working the streets. Man, you don't know what when test day is coming. You have no idea. And I'm seeing this. I mean, they had the one the other day that just came out. Guy had iron sights.
The woman holding the woman with a knife.
Yeah. And I mean, one shot, dropped a guy, did what he's supposed to do.
It was a chick. It was a woman.
Yeah, that was a female.
Woman holding a woman.
Yeah, that's right. It's tough. And that guy, I mean, I don't know what his skill set is and all that. But I wish I knew more about that. That would be interesting to see what these guys that are doing the good shoots, and then ones that are spraying and praying.
I mean, if you watch that guy in that situation and his demeanor, right, his confidence, the way that he's moving, the way he's holding the gun, how he's prioritizing what he should be doing, right? He's not on the radio.
Not on the fucking radio.
Not on the radio.
Gosh.
All of that stuff, would lend me to believe, like, that dude is doing some training on his own. Yeah. Whether, hard skills wise, I don't know what it looks like, because it's one shot. Yeah. But the ability with confidence to deliver there with composure, right? That's a guy that we talked about this, in the class. If you're overdeveloped hard skills, in my opinion, like when you look at application, equals confidence. Confidence equals guys being patient to let the situation evolve or devolve to a point where they're absolutely right, because they know that anything that happens, they can handle it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no downside.
Yeah.
To it.
Well, our guy from Washington State, what's his name? The one
Chris Munn.
Yeah. I mean, you watch his video where he shot that guy from 80-something yards. Cool comp, sets his coffee cup up, gets in the back, gets his rifle out, bam, shoots, and
yeah, that was 168.
Is that what 100? Oh, damn,
168
yeah,
yards.
I've seen that video.
Unmagnified shot.
Yeah. So he came to Matt's class right before that.
Yep.
That's how I met him.
Yep.
And then he's come to other classes. Then he started bringing guys down to the conference and training
from Tacoma.
And then you look at his training pedigree. He trained with a lot of guys, and he put work in. It's like it wasn't just by accident,
No, he's good. He's well practiced. He's into it. He's putting forth a significant amount of effort on his own. In terms of time, right? I get it. I believe like the departments are resourcing it, but I even think in one of them, he either won or he was comped a slot, right?
Yeah.
And then his department was still going to pay. Yeah. So he was like, give that to another guy.
Yeah, he did.
Like, I'm still coming, and it's like, it's all the right things.
Yeah, he's a
right?
good dude.
And what dudes are doing.
Yeah, I hooked him up with stuff, and I'm like, dude, that's the right attitude to have, and that's the guys, and like you said, that's the guys that are changing law enforcement in the better. I have a passion. I think this podcast, to me, the way I look at it, it's not just shooting the shit. Yes, that's part of it, but to me, this is a training tool. It's a valuable tool for guys to understand that maybe have never heard any of this stuff. Okay, let me go down my own journey and stuff. I think it's important. That's why TTPOA is so important to me, because we're pushing guys to challenge themselves. And if you don't want to jump on the train, hey, man, someone else is. Sorry, man. Maybe you'll come around the next time the train comes back to your station. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. That ain't my issue. I'm giving you what I feel like I should be giving you as a member of this association.
Well, we can bad rap guys. There are a lot of good dudes out there really trying to. We had 3 guys from Anchorage, Alaska, come to the HR class because they wanted to come down and hear what it was all about. That's a long haul from there to here, and to do it, and then we had the guys free from Minneapolis. I had the 2 guys from Canada come down when I did the deal in San Antonio for James. Yeah, they couldn't get into class because they could never get signed up, so they came down there all the way to San Antonio just to hear what we had to say. I mean, that's effort. Yeah, that's not, the department didn't make them do that. They got approval for it, but those guys wanted to come down. They hit me up. They go, "Hey, can we come down and go to your 8?" I'm like, "Dude, you absolutely can come down to our class, whenever you're ready." They go, and the problem was the department wouldn't let them sign up until they got approval. Well, by the time that class is already full. Yeah. So we just kind of held on to 2 spots for them on the side and got them into a class we did down in San Antonio. And they came all the way from where it was in Canada all the way to San Antonio to hang out with us for the week and do some training. It was great, and they're really good dudes. And you can tell they had been trained and had a higher level, but they were seeking out other opinions and stuff like that. And that's what makes it worthwhile right there, to see guys that want to come in, and not that they're trying to hear what you have to say, but they're trying to develop those better skills. That was really cool. And I say and all that, but I was like, "What's the weather like up there?" They're like, "It's cold," because it was February. And I was like, "I cannot imagine being up there like it's really cold back up." We're down in San Antonio. It was like in the 50s, and they're like, "This is perfect." I'm like, "Yeah, it was good." So
Conference next year. I think you already committed to it, right? Did we talk about that?
Yeah. Yes. The dates you sent me. Yes.
Yeah. So
this one I'll be able to come to.
Yeah, we'll be at I'm excited for that. We got some things that we were talking about doing and stuff. So I'm excited. I think we haven't announced it yet, but Matt kind of knows what we were talking about earlier as far as what the instructors are going to be able to do. So I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what you want me to teach. So do you want? I was thinking of like a tactical doorway kinesthetic kata class. It'll be like one day, 12 hours.
Yes.
all talking.
Yeah.
In kit.
Yeah.
In kit's the best.
Just by hour, just seeing people just falling out. Just we'll have Adam there, or Chris rather, videoing the whole thing.
Yeah. No.
Well, when we were at the conference, when I was doing my class, I saw the ambulance pull up, and I was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" That was the staccato class. The guy that that.
Oh, that guy.
And Lieutenant Dan walked in and goes, "It's none of us." Like,
it was not TTPOA guys.
Yeah, I was like, "Thank God," And when they had an injury on one of the ranges, and we saw the ambulance, and when you're on the live fire, you see the ambulance pulling in with the lights. You're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And I walked down and talked to Lieutenant Dan, and he's like, "Nope, you're good. It's none of us. Y'all just carry on. Just be careful." Like, thank goodness.
It's you never know what you're gonna get on the TTP. The one year I came, we were out there teaching.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, half the damn cops left. They're like, "What?" There's an active shooter.
That's right.
3 miles away. And then one guy comes back. He's like, "I can't take the course anymore. I'm on like the lead." Like, what happened?
Well,
I shot that dude.
Well, 2 years ago, he was here with us. He and Ben, we had to leave to go do an HR. Missed half the day of training, and then the second day this year we were late getting there because of stuff. So it happens. It comes up. It's just what it is. So but that's funny. But yeah.
I mean, it's the good and the bad part, right?
Yeah.
About it's always the gamble. I mean, even if would have completely fallen apart, like you guys are out all day, like I still would have trained the Irving guys and the Fort Worth guys, and then there's open days here. It would be like, how about this day? Like at the end of the trip, we'll just do. It's never gonna like cancel training because of real work. If anything, we're just gonna shoot on the range and wait till you come back and then be like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Can I get a uniform?
Yeah. Right. I know.
Well, we could have used another body or two. We're always. Well, we've had ops where we've used Garland. We've used Irving because even in Dallas we run out of people, and we had a deal a couple years ago. Long story short, they're bringing in a lot of dope in this barn. They're putting it out there under IR at night, and we didn't have enough people, so we had to have Brandon drove the APC for them and came in there and. We came in there under nods, did a soft breach.
That was a fun trip.
It was, but then it turned into had to go clear this big building. But like almost every piece of equipment and skill that you needed was on that one op.
Yeah,
you had APC, we had aerial platform guys who were doing Overwatch on us with that. We had guys coming in, through the back. 40 of the whole property sneaking in, using cover of foliage. That's not usually what Dallas PD does, but we're having to do that. And we used almost every piece of kit and gear and tactic and utilization of everything on one op, and we still ended up having Garland come out and do that. And it was a really good deal. But like, you just never know that we actually waited tonight to do that. Like, hey, we can do this at night. And it was just like, having the confidence and the ability to do that and having guys that you can trust to bring in, it was a really good deal. And that was a good deal. That was a fun
especially
deal.
You think in Dallas, you're like, well, where would place, like, I was thinking, where the fuck are we going?
Yeah, southeast of it.
Yeah, sure. I was like, I had no idea
in
this
the city
was
limits
Dallas.
too. Yeah,
I was like, I had no idea this.
It was the very bottom corner that still is not really built
man.
up back that way. But that was a good deal. So
Dallas is the city. Like the last year when I came driving around, I was like, put in an address or something, and it's like, oh, you'll arrive in an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, no. I'm going still in Dallas.
Yeah.
It's an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you $8.
Yeah, it's only 15 miles. Why is it taking so long?
The day he goes, what is that with all y'all's toll roads? I was like, how we pay for everything? It's
no shit.
But I've leaving downtown Dallas coming here. It's been over 2 hours many times.
Yeah.
It's not that far of a drive, but it's crazy, and it's just gotten worse.
The toll stuff is like, you have to pay to go pick someone up from the airport. I'm like, no, I'm not parking.
I know.
We don't care.
I know. I don't know any other airport that does that, man.
No.
I really don't.
Well, I think the toll, it's awesome. Everyone's like, come to Texas, no state taxes.
Yeah,
there's other shit. There's a lot of other shit.
We're going to get ours,
for sure. For sure.
2 years ago in the August I came here, right? We were here for 35 days.
Yeah, y'all were here for a long
Me and
ass
Ben
time.
were, and man, when I got home, with the total added up, I had like $310 worth of tolls.
He's like, I lost money on that trip.
I was like, I never went through one toll booth. And then, believe it or not, the system that you have to it's not very intuitive on how to register for
Imagine
it,
that.
or even how to pay the tolls.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Then the late fees come. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
well, can I pay it on? Nope. Get online, and you get online.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't think this is the site.
No, they had the algorithm made just right where you
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you live in Dallas and you don't have a toll tag, man, I don't know how people do it. Like, you got to have a toll tag.
Yeah. No, it's
So, well, Matt, you got anything else, man, before we wrap this up?
No, this was great.
Well, I appreciate what you do for law enforcement and the passion that you have, and you give a shit, and you're always, dude, I can't imagine how busy you are offline. I know, we've talked about that, just how many people hit you up. So keep it up, man. I do appreciate the friend you've been to us and to me in our community, and always pushing us to be better. So I appreciate that, man. I really do.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor to come here, and I love shooting with you guys. And TTPOA classes are easy.
Yeah.
Right. You guys handle everything, right? It's like show up.
Yeah.
And then I like driving out here. It's always been good guys. I think for me, it's, I kind of get in line with people based off like the culture of training that they do, right? As somebody who's interested in training, and you see it in Texas. I see it a lot in Arizona, parts of California where guys are really into, working, doing the work and getting better. So to me, it's an honor to come here and be able to, try to contribute to that in whatever way I can.
Well, I appreciate it. Like you said, man, I had an owner out here. We were eating Mexican food one day, and I was like, hey, man, I've been trying to get Pranka out here. He goes, really? You want him? Called you up. Hey, man. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to you on the phone again. And so, man, it's been a good friendship since then. So I appreciate it, man. So
my pleasure.
Look forward to more stuff.
I got to figure out, Texas is so damn big. Like, I have to get down south.
Yeah.
I wanted to get down to Houston, right? But I know Corpus Christi.
Yep.
It's like,
that's a 8-hour drive, 7-hour drive.
You will see driving, go down to Houston. Yeah, you'll find. Yeah.
I've been. Yeah.
I think you ought to go to El Paso too. Drive to El Paso from here, man. That'll be a fun drive.
El Paso.
That is a hike.
That's like what, 10 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that is all day and still in the state.
That's like, I thought, I was, Corpus Christi and Houston, it's in the same area.
No.
Yeah. I learned, and the guy's like, hey, are you coming down to Corpus Christi? I'm like, I think I'm coming to Houston. And he's like, yeah, but are you coming down to Corpus? And I had to get like the maps out. I'm like, no. Can you guys come up to Dallas?
Yeah. That's a long way. Yeah. Well, it's so big,
planet down there.
Oh, yeah. It is. But I mean, anytime I run basic SWAT, advanced SWAT, or the HR school, man, they'll have guys from all over those border towns.
Oh, we get a ton down Border Town, Corpus.
They love it up here.
They do. Every time we have a ton of those guys. But anyway, no, Matt, thank you for your service, for everything you've done, and and I appreciate being available to us and everything. It was always enjoy having you up. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, boys and girls, this is going to cut. We're going to cut this off here, and stay tuned for our next podcast. And y'all go train hard.